Hey, what's up, guys? Borderline Weird here, and today I'm bringing you.
We are live.
I wish this was live, but my internet cannot support that. Anyways, welcome to our brand new podcast. Don't have a name for it yet. I have many working titles, but nothing's been decided on. Maybe the graphic on the screen that you're looking at will have it. But the purpose of this is just a long, chill video that you can put in the background while you game, while you do your homework. So make sure your device is charging. Go get a snack, get some water, and enjoy. Today I am joined by the lovely Iron Fox Studios. Do you have anything you want to promote?
No.
Okay then. And the topic for...
No. If you really want to see the stuff that you promoted, go down to the channel.
I guess you could do that. So anyways, without a further ado, let's get into it. So today's topic is we're talking about, when is a fandom toxic because of the fandom itself, or if the creators are the actual toxic ones. Is there anywhere you want to lead off to? I have many bulletin points. Feel free to go and flow as much as you want. Do your own thing.
I don't really have. Do you have any? You had some stuff written down?
Yep, I have bullet points that we can talk to if we ever run out of ideas. I'm not sure how long you can go, but the goal here is between 40 minutes and an hour, so that's kind of our time frame that I'm thinking of. So yeah, I guess to start off with, let's talk about some toxic fandoms. I guess this one, you've seen My Hero Academia, so have I. One big thing lately is a lot of the community has been harassing the creator over ships, of like what ship should be canon, and it's just like a whole never bring up ships in a My Hero group. Like the subreddit's terrible, and it's just, yeah.
I've never really been too associated with her. I watched the show, but I've never really looked too much up.
Yeah, like
really with that. It's the next. It kind of knows with all type of fandoms. A lot of the times, if certain things go a certain way to a certain in particular group of people, you'd be very upset about it. God.
Yeah. I think that it's one thing to have discourse among your fellow fans, but it's a whole other thing to harass the creator over your favorite show. Like, that's just unacceptable.
So since they're the one,
Go on.
especially that they're the only reason that show exists. So
Yeah,
there's
and
not
then
really
have it be something like trivial over like shipping. Like, I know that I throw out my ships a lot of the time. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm very Todeku or whatever. But like, I think it's clear what the actual canon ships are, and that is the creator's choice. And it's not like it's outrageous or out of nowhere. Like, it makes sense, and then I think that the fans are like, well, these characters actually fit really well together. Well, was that because of what you saw on screen or a lot of fan-made content? Because that's like another issue with toxic fandoms, is them confusing like the fan-made stuff over like the actual canon stuff. And like, this has even warped me for a little bit. So like for My Hero, like especially My Hero, like you see so many ones where like Bakugo's slightly nicer, and then it's so jarring going back to the actual show where he's not as nice as he was in like these fan things.
the main part I can jump into here is if you want the ship to work and it doesn't work on the show, go install Wattpad right to your heart's.
Install Wattpad.
Oh, you little.
Hey, what are you saying about Wattpad writers?
I'm saying that a pretty large percent of Wattpad writers, excluding some, this isn't a bad thing. It's mostly ship stories. Go to Wattpad and type in like the most popular stories, and I guarantee you, there's gonna be 15 ships in the top thing.
Not to mention all the X readers, which I'm down for as long as it's healthy. Um. So yeah, there's
You
not.
like that one with Ichia?
Anyways, I don't think
Do you
there's.
want to talk about the one with Ichia?
I don't think there's much more to talk about with My Hero. So I'll have to be careful with this one. Legend of Korra spoilers potentially. I'm going to try not spoil it for you. But I've seen all of Avatar, also Avatar spoilers. I've seen all of Avatar and a lot of I've seen all of Avatar and all of Korra. And you know, like before I watched Legend of Korra, there was like a lot of hate for it. So I thought it would be a bad show. So then I watched it and I'm not ashamed to say this, I like it way more than Avatar. And that can be a different topic for another day. As long as we both can agree on that it's not as bad as people say it is.
Thing is, when I went into the show, there's a lot of things I was really quickly. The thing is, this happens a lot. If you're influenced by the fandom too much before you watch the show, that can also be kind of a problem, because I went in blind into it expecting something really terrible, and that kind of hindered some of the good moments. In my head, I was like, oh, it's going to turn bad, so this good stuff doesn't have any meaning, so I didn't properly appreciate that really good moment, because I was expecting something bad throughout the entire watching of the show. So, with that being said, that doesn't just translate to Korra, that translates to all negative fandoms, is if you're trying to influence people about negative things of the show before they watch it, then of course they're going to probably find something they dislike, because they're going to actually be looking for stuff to negative things.
And even with Legend of Korra, I thought the ending was going to be bad, but no, despite studio interference, like it ended perfectly. Like it didn't ever like dip bad. And then I was like, oh, then why do people have problems with it? There's two main problems that they have with Korra, and then one, it's because she makes a and they're both because of character flaws. They're mad because one, they make it out so Aang wasn't the greatest parent, which I absolutely believe in, and I'm gonna make a whole video about that. But basically, they're like, well, they just made Aang terrible, and it's like, no, Aang is human. And then we see that as they get older, avatars make a lot of mistakes. And then this one, I don't know how to say it without spoiling. So for all of you of my Legend Korra fans, it's when Korra loses the one fight and she loses something that the Avatar has. Everyone was not happy with that, but one, I think it was for story progression, and I think it was for kind of balancing as well. Like, I really want to make a whole video over it. So yeah, like, they hate these, like, character flaws because they're like, well, Aang would never do this. But then Aang almost died from, what's her face? Oh, why can't I think of her name? Azula, yeah. So, I don't know. They just don't like that she's a flawed character, which I think is kind of important. Like, I will say that Aang was a flawed character too, and I like that, but I think they really honed it out with Korra. And, I don't know, maybe when you watch the rest of it, you'll maybe disagree. Anything you want to add to that?
I hate to be the guy that says, "Oh, people just don't like it because of change," but that is a factor. I'm willing to bet that that's a factor with some people, but it's more of on a different level of the whole change thing. This goes with all different interpretations of the show. Like, if a show gets a sequel, it's always going to be compared to the original show.
True.
I'll be right back.
Okay. I guess while he's gone, so Brandon, if you watch this in past tense, just skip this part. I'm referring to when she loses the connection to the past avatars, and you know, I think that's really humbling for her, because one, it allows her to move on without the judgment of the avatar and make her own kind of judgment, which I really like, and it's also kind of nerfing So Korra has to discover things herself instead of relying on the past avatars, which I really, really like that, and I think it's very fitting for the story so the past avatars can finally rest.
So
Hello?
that's an
Hmm?
interesting point. But now that I haven't seen the show, I don't know how to interact. I think I get what you're trying.
You keep cutting out.
I keep cutting out.
Yep.
What is happening? So when it comes to Korra, I don't have much input, but I can say one thing too. It's not even just from the story aspects too. I think the story aspects are really well done, mainly because they also handle the cinematography. Would it be would it be considered cinematography animation?
The animation, like, I think that the fight scenes of Legend of Korra are way better than Avatar. Like, don't get me wrong, they're still really good with Avatar. And like you brought up an issue, I was like, oh look, they have longer and more fight scenes, and you're like, well, that will kind of ruin it in a while, and then you'll get sick of it. No, like each fight scene was interesting, and they did something different every time with the choreography, which I was really, really happy about. So I think Legend of Korra definitely improved on the fight scenes.
I would say the thing is, I don't really have an opinion of which one I like better, because how I view it is they're very different, but they're all good for their own way. Because the original, they treat it more like an art, and now they treat it more just a sense of life that everyone's kind of gotten used to. So I would say what's kind of cool about that one is it feels more like it's progressing with their time period.
And then
it feels that this feels like that's how they evolve.
You've only seen season 1, but in season 3, there are 4 main bad guys, and they each have an element that they utilize in a way different way. Like, they all have a unique style of bending. And, like, old styles of bending come back. Like, I really like the way that Tenzin bends, because the only airbender we really saw was Aang. And it's interesting to see an airbender use more offensive types of moves. I don't know, I could talk all day about how much I love Legend of Korra.
From a technical standpoint, I would definitely say it's a very that's the most I can say about, because I do like a lot of the plot stuff, but I only got the tip of the iceberg since I only watched season. And can we talk about that one scene at the end of season 1 that was just
the end of season 1. Who I don't know, I think Amon...
Well, besides...
even that you had issues to before is that it doesn't really affect the plot anymore. Like, it's never a thing that's carried on, so it doesn't bug me as much. Like, she doesn't use that power ever again. So, and like, the story doesn't linger on it, so I'm fine with it. I don't know, and then, I don't know, I think the fandom's starting to come around now, and I hate to say it, like I don't...
in a good way or
a good way, like, I don't use TikTok, but I do watch, like, YouTubes for certain, like, fandoms I like, so, like, I'll watch, like, JoJo TikToks or Legend of Korra TikToks that I see on YouTube, and it seems like the opinions coming around that Korra is a good character. And then that's been circling around lately, and it's like, we all get that we have a sentimental attachment to Aang in the originals, but you've got to admit that this is technically a good show and a good character, and you cannot fault it because what it precedes, and you can't be mad that it improves on some of the original story. So the fandom's slowly starting to get out of that toxicity. I think that Legend of Korra being put on Netflix right after Avatar, after quarantine, is really, really good. And I think everyone's opinions are going to change. So that's a case of like a fandom getting better.
No, this isn't necessarily toxic fandoms, but there's kind of an interesting topic I kind of want to bring up here that has to do with fandom.
Mhm.
How come some things, some certain fandoms that are targeted to a certain audience usually go to the opposite audience and vice versa as well? Like, the biggest thing I can definitely say is, like, certain, like, horror fandoms are oddly, like, you see a lot more kids in those fandoms, a lot more younger audiences in those fandoms than you expect.
Oh, are you talking about like
two off the top of my head,
like how fandoms are like different than what you think the target audience would be?
Yeah, like the two biggest like ones I can give out right now. One from personal experience is the fandom and the FNAF fandom.
Oh, definitely. It's
As for like the It fandom is purely younger audiences from what I've seen. Like I never see.
And then you have shows like My Hero, Avatar, and Legend of Korra, and Steven Universe. Mostly people talking about that are adults. Very interesting enough.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's the translation from book to show, because if you look at like the books for certain more mature audiences, you do see a lot more adults talking about it. But when it's translated to a film or any form of adaptation like a show, it oddly shifts.
Yeah.
And things like Stranger Things as well. Although there's kids' audience, it's still more.
I think specifically the FNAF and this actually fits in perfectly of the Legend of Korra issues with FNAF and It has to do with horror YouTube channels or YouTube channels targeting kid audiences with this new trend. Like, you know, like, oh, calling Pennywise at 3 a.m. Kids love that crap. Or ordering a pizza from Freddy Fazbear's, or let me play with my Freddy Fazbear plushies. And then the kids are like, oh, I associate positively with this thing, so I'm going to associate with all things this thing. And then, like, YouTube affects fandoms a lot. Like, I would say the three biggest things that affect a fandom is Tumblr, Reddit, and YouTube.
Yeah, a lot of the big social media sites are definitely, again, because a lot of those, they don't really, besides the games or the shows, they don't push themselves out with merch, or they don't push themselves out with other media that can really influence it otherwise. So most of the times, all of the advertisement you see, besides maybe one trailer, will be from a fan or someone that's toning it down.
Yeah.
Like, it's over dominated by the fandom and not the actual show. That's also a thing, problem with Undertale as well. The fandom dominates the actual game.
That is literally next on my bulletin list of toxic fandoms. I have My Hero, Avatar, Undertale, Steven Universe, JoJo, Pokemon is what I have currently. So do you just want to move into the Undertale fandom?
No, let's just move into Undertale.
Okay, say what you have to say.
I will have to say that it seems like Undertale is a great game, but it seems like oddly that all of its famous success comes from the millions and millions of AUs, and just like I think another thing to talk about too is how fans attach to certain characters. And there's this one meme that was perfect. You know the meme when it's someone on their smartphone and then the light from the streetlights is turning over to go to someone with a book? Yeah. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
It basically says the Undertale fandom, all good Undertale characters, and then it has the light going over to Sans. Like, Sans is a good character. He's a really neatly, from a technological standpoint, like a program standpoint, it's a really cool idea. But there's so many other elements in the game that are good as well.
Yeah. And then, like, I will never shit on comic dubs, but, like, the amount of Undertale ones, even to this day, like, there was whole channels dedicated to it. Like, I think that's what piqued my interest in voice acting was Undertale comics. So I don't know,
It's
like
kind of how it was too.
there was like so much fan media. Like, okay, we're coming clean with this. We had a bunch of that planned, Undertale based things that we're going to do.
Oh yeah.
Even on my voice acting channel, in the description, I still had it written that we were going to dub comics that you made, and like the first one was Undertale.
You still have that? Do you still have that written down?
No, I changed it.
Okay.
Uh,
Bring it back.
okay. I don't know. The Undertale fandom is really interesting. I think that a lot of the arguments people make is like the NSFW parts of it, but you have that with any fandom with inappropriate drawings of characters. And you know, like, as long as you stray away from it, it's fine. Hey guys, not a split clip or anything. We're totally not like 3 hours in the future from where we left off. So
And another person.
yeah, we don't have another person.
That didn't happen.
So do you want to introduce yourself? Okay. So I forgot exactly.
Everyone knows her from Wattpad. It's okay. Just go check out her Wattpad. You'll see her
No,
amazing work.
don't tell my Wattpad, please.
I will not. I will not
cry.
do
We
that.
have lovely
I
stories
will not
on there.
do that because she would leak my Wattpad in return. I forget exactly.
I have no Wattpad. I'm immune.
Brandon,
I'll
I
show
have
them your
stuff on
channel.
you. Alright. The channel. Wait, I have a channel.
Brandon's channel.
Oh. I was
Show
gonna
them my
say-
channel. I have nothing on there besides a crappy trailer
I'll
that
show them your
hasn't been
Instagram.
true. What do you have to, I have
Brandon,
2 things
I
on my
have
Instagram.
pictures. I have old pictures.
And
of you
that'll give
drew.
major spoilers to the show too, so that'll be on you as well.
What show?
Okay, so anyways.
They'll-
So anyways, I forget exactly where we left off. So like, let's go over like some of the previous fandoms to see if Cassie has anything to add to them. So we talked
did we
about,
start out with?
for toxic fandoms, we talked about the My Hero fandom, basically talking about how a lot of the fans were like bugging the creator over their ships and like how they're just toxic with their ships in general. Do you have anything to add to that?
Besides that it's bullshit, not really.
Okay,
Like, who the fuck does that?
and then we have to be careful with this one because Brandon's only seen season 1. I have that the Avatar, The Last Airbender community was kind of salty. Give me a second, I need to take a drink. They were salty because of Korra's character flaws, specifically what happens towards the what happened to her at the end of season 2.
Yeah, how dare she have character flaws, you
Yeah,
know?
how
Like,
dare she have character flaws? And then they were also mad that Aang wasn't a good parent, which I totally think
How-
he wouldn't be.
how dare he have character flaws? Like, come on.
So,
Grow
Yeah,
up.
it's not like he had any flaws in the original.
Yep, exactly. And then I think where we left off was the Undertale fandom, and that was like right when Brandon
boy.
left. We talked about how like I forget
Oh, yeah,
exactly
we
what we were
predicted
talking.
that you were gonna do.
We were talking
Wasn't
about.
there...
We were talking like about the comics and stuff like that.
Not even just the comics, the fact that basically what we were mainly going for is Undertale, like, and the game itself kind of got thrown away, but the fandom just went immediately crazy with AUs and like stuff.
Which
That's
isn't
not even-
necessarily toxic,
Yeah.
but sometimes it got to be a bit too much. I think
Not
that.
in terms of toxicity, though. in
Sorry.
terms
Go
of
ahead,
more-
Cassie.
In my opinion, it's not really the AUs that's the problem at all. It's more of them taking it like too far and like being rude to people, you know, like fuck.
So
Are we even going to talk about the whole Deltarune situation?
No, there's 2 things I want to discuss before we go into Deltarune, before I forget. My biggest problem is how rude the Undertale community is to Theorist
Yeah.
and Toby. Specifically how rude they were to MatPat when he
MatPat.
did 2 videos, and he like doesn't want to talk about the game anymore because people were just ruthless of attacking him.
And the
When-
thing is, I would have, yeah,
Go ahead.
I would have I would have loved to fucking see more like theories from him on that, but he got so fucking attacked that he didn't want to do any more because they're so mean. Like, it's scary how mean these people about like how this game was about you didn't have to kill anyone and your actions mattered, and people are all like, hey, we're gonna be mean now, like the game said we're not gonna be. And it's like,
And then how mean they were to Toby Fox. Like, a lot of people aren't happy about the wait, but when you're talking like a 2-man production, or I think it's more than that, but for the longest time it was just 2 people, and a lot of people were like disappointed with Deltarune because it wasn't a direct sequel, but I didn't want a direct sequel to Undertale.
I kind of wanted like something completely new, so I wanted to see like what else Toby Fox had like in store, because he has so many ideas. He's such a creative man. Yeah.
And it's not that I didn't want to see an Undertale 2, but I wanted to see him get other stuff out first. You know,
like
if he wanted to tell one, if he had a story that he could tell, like art should not be a sequel should not be forced just for the sake of having a sequel. A sequel should be used if there actually is more places for the story to go, and I don't think there's more places for the story to go.
And who knows, maybe we're completely wrong and Deltarune and Undertale sequel was always planned, but like with the context it seems like it was very, very forced upon him.
Yeah.
Anything else we want to say about the Undertale fandom? Of their toxic behavior?
Assholes.
I want to mention this, and I'm going to mention this more when we talk about JoJo's.
The cookie.
No, the cookie. The cookie was Steven Universe.
Was it?
He was Undertale.
I thought that was Undertale.
No, because they drew Rose skinny.
No,
yeah.
There was a cookie with Undertale too, wasn't there?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was an Undertale one.
Okay, then you guys
The
talk about
cookie?
that. You talk about that real quick. Because I could have swore that was. Oh wait, no. You're right.
Yeah, because I wasn't into Steven Universe at the time that you told me, so you told me about the. Oh, sorry. No, I was just gonna continue what I said for like 2 more seconds, and now I'm gonna keep talking until you keep talking. So you better start talking before it's just me.
now I'm just gonna leave the stream, and you can never stop. You're my prisoner now.
Oh fuck.
So basically, the cookie was a lovely story that happened to a creator. They simply, you know how, going back to the My Hero thing, how people were being really toxic about ships, it's something similar to that. So basically, this artist drew a ship between 2 characters that one artist didn't like, and they baked cookies, and they gave it to him, and when he bit into it, there was needles inside the cookies. How do you take it that far with 2 characters that... It's not like it's canon either, it's a picture that...
Calm down, it's just a drawing.
I bet that was a mouthful.
You're going to hell now.
Back to what I was saying earlier, the one thing I didn't like was like the constant sans. Like sans is a revolving meme. I swear, every time we get away from it, he just reemerges. Like the game is 5 years old, and like sans has been a meme at least like 3 times in the past 5 years.
I remember watching the playthrough for the first time and being like, I don't get why everyone likes sans so much, and and Brenda was like, what? I was like, I'm sorry.
I like how it's gone, and like the way that Undertale has always worked is, or at least in our friend group was, I was the first one to get into it, and then I kept constantly bugging Brandon to watch a gameplay, and he was like, no, I'm good, I don't think I'll enjoy it. And then by the time I got sick of it, he kept spraying it along, and then he kept telling you, and you're like, no, I'm not that interested. And then we both kind of fell out of it, and then Cassie got into it. and then that carried all the way to Deltarune.
Look, it's hard for me to get into things because I'm stubborn. And I'm not watching. I've watched Batman before.
Which ones have you watched?
I don't know.
Do we
You
have
probably
to,
watched the new DCs.
do we have to
You
have,
haven't watched any of the Dark Knights.
do we have to have this
Brandon.
argument on the podcast?
It's his fault. He brought it up.
I'm shaming both of you.
I
I'm
didn't
saying
do
you'd
anything.
enjoy it. You'd enjoy the movie.
I don't want to watch it. It's 2 hours. It's so long. Probably longer.
We spent days watching anime.
I like anime.
So should I just skip the loaded fandom, or should I go straight into it? The
Whatever
fandom
you
that's
want,
probably
man.
going to give me the most backlash, the one that I'm constantly terrified of talking of.
Whatever you want, man.
The good old SU, the good old Steven Universe. So before I start this, I am a very, very big fan of Steven Universe.
He
I
loves it.
I watched it when it was first airing. I'm staring at my pumpkin plushie right now.
Hey, I am too.
I
Wait,
wish.
I can only see his butt though. Come here, pumpkin.
I don't have a pumpkin plushie.
I wish I had more merch for the show, and I love
That's
the
so
show
hard to
dearly,
get.
and it helped me with my sexuality. I even wear a Steven Universe mask.
Changed my life.
However, I have noticed that one, the fandom is pretty toxic, and then two, the show is good. Like, some of the episodes are like some of the best.
Remarkable.
Or some of the best in animation. But then a majority of them are just filler, and I do not care for the filler. And then also the way the show was commercialized, or the way its runtime. So, like, you would wait months just to get 4 episodes, and 3 of them were filler. So I feel like
I see that.
And I feel like if the creators knew that it was going to constantly be months in between, they could have less filler. That's my personal thought, but, you know, the Steven Universe community is very, very defensive about that. Like, if you bring that up, it's like, well, the filler has meaning, which it does, but in the grand scheme of the show, it does not. And then if you complain about villains or stuff, it's like, well, this show is not for you then, yada, yada, yada. Oh, you're homophobic, yada, 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 yada. Yada, yada, yada. Don't worry, we'll tackle that big fish in a second. So,
The
yeah.
Fish of Bigs.
So, like, if you ever do a video not talking about Steven Universe in the most positive light, you get constantly criticized and hate comments. Or even, the most popular example is Just a Robot. He does, like, power scaling, whatever, and he was doing power scaling of Steven Universe, and he was using, like, the basic information, and then people were like, well, no, you're twisting this character's words, and yeah, you're not a fan of the show. Yeah. It seems like there's no ever appeasing Steven Universe fans, which is ironic because they were very appeased by a great but terribly flawed show. That's my 2 cents. What do you guys think?
In my opinion, I didn't mind the fillers as much, but that's probably because I started much later than you, so I didn't have to wait for the fillers to come out, or wait for the episodes to come out, and then they're just fillers. I thought they were nice, but that's because I like shows that are a lot slower paced. But I do agree that I did not like Future as much as I liked the original show.
Oh yeah, don't hear them criticize Future. Well, he's growing up as a character. Yes, I really like that. I really like the flawed character.
Me too.
But they did not handle it well.
They didn't.
And
it was too fast.
And the finale, and they had so many questions unanswered, but I think we're beating around the biggest tragedy, which is the villain, White Diamond. And I am a firm believer of this, and I always will be. Yellow Diamond should have been the one and only villain because she is one of the best characters. And she's the only diamond besides maybe Pink to have a full arc.
Oh, yeah. What about Blue? What about the
Don't say her name. Don't
You
say
mean-
her name.
You mean the high one?
Literally.
Yeah, the
literally-
super cheer, the brilliant villain.
I will say I
I-
really like Blue's voice actor, but like here's how
Me
my
too.
ranking of the diamonds goes. It goes yellow, pink, white, blue.
I would have loved to see a diamond fusion as well.
Oh yeah, like there was many fusions that we should have got. We didn't get a single
Oh,
Paradox
yeah.
fusion.
Lapis and Paradox. I mean, come on.
Hmm.
I would have absolutely loved to see that.
Oh no, and then I think it was weird how they kept Jasper around,
But didn't really.
utilize her. Like there was the whole arc with Amethyst about her fighting
She didn't-
Jasper, but then she didn't really fight Jasper, which I like the ending to that arc, so I'm kind of okay with it.
But my problem is she didn't really change or anything. Like
Jasper or Amethyst?
Jasper, like Steven just beat the shit out of her, and she was like, "Okay, you're my diamond now."
Okay, so I really, really like. That's my favorite episode of Future because.
Oh, I love it.
Because it's, and then they do the same thing of Legend of Korra. It's like, well, one of the ways to get out your frustration is through a constructive violent method, they call it. Except for that method has always been shown to work a short time, and if you like extend it out, it always goes wrong.
Yeah, my problem is they didn't really do anything else with that though. Like, they kind of just dropped Jasper after that.
Yeah.
So we had to get Godzilla.
That whole finale. Like, I agree that he should have been corrupted, and then here's the thought I've always had, is that he should
Yeah.
have looked like Pink and Rose
Pink.
and himself in a
That would have been so
disgusting amalgamation. And then Pink didn't even have to show up. Like, they could have done this in multiple ways, like mental state, the cloud room, or they could have simply just acknowledged that he basically went through the same arc that she did, and then that's why he could see why she made so many terrible choices, having all that stress on her.
Yeah, I would have liked to see him like, she didn't have to be there, but I would have liked to see, like, inside of his mind or something, he gets to talk to her or something, talk it out, and that would have been a beautiful, like...
Or this would have been perfect if they would have sang a song to Steven.
Aww.
Like they would have
But
had
they
the
hug him.
They would have had the perfect chance to make all those filler episodes worth it by all the Beach City people stepping in. They could have made all that, what I consider wasted time, to be worth it in the end. But no, what we got was what we got.
But they hug him, he cries, and everything goes back to normal. And all problems.
Don't get me wrong, I still fucking bawled at the end of this. At the end of Future, I was crying.
I don't know, so like, when Steven Universe first came out, I remember like, I would make sure I had no distractions and I would sit down and watch at my TV. I watched the final episode pirated on YouTube on my phone. Because all the excitement had kind of worn off. Like, the ending did get some tears out of me, but I don't know.
I probably also cried though because that I was thinking a lot about like that shit at the time, and it just kind of hit.
It's
hard.
Almost, it's been half a year since it's been over.
Jesus.
Yeah. Okay, so any other thoughts? I know we didn't really give Brandon a chance to talk about it.
Well, Brennan, do you want
Okay.
to say anything?
My 2 cents is going to be very, very weird. Because... okay. So you see, when it first came out, I watched some of it because we lost cable after a while. So I watched it all when they were airing. I got to, like, through season 1, maybe season 2. The last episode I remember is when Amethyst was having trouble changing. Like, she kept turning to be like Pearl or something like that. So I watched some of those, but then I watched some of them through demand, and I took some breaks. And the thing is, I also saw them out of order a lot of the time, but I tried to piece it together. And then, after I lost connection, I completely cut all ties for a really long time until Cassie got into it. And then she was like, "Hey, bitch, you need to watch this show." And I was like, "Okay."
That's
I'll
probably
watch it.
exactly
Watch
how
it.
I said it.
Okay, I'll watch it. I mean, watch it. Okay, I'm going to watch it.
He wasn't going
And
to
then-
watch it. It was like 3
Brandon,
months.
it's 4 p.m. Time to watch Steven Universe.
Yes, Cassie.
So I started, but the thing is, we started at like a point of I missed like 2 seasons, and we started at the more important parts, and I got filled in through some of it, and I saw a lot of it, but there were still long breaks in between those times as I was watching it, and I saw all the important episodes for the ends. I saw Peridot's arc, I saw the ending of Jasper's arc, I barely remember Lapis's arc, and I saw everything so forth from there. So I agree with Carter about the diamonds. I do believe Yellow should have been the only one, or at least they should have handled the diamonds better by dedicating a couple of episodes just to them. So we can have more reason for Blue's flaws, we can have more reason for White Diamond's stubbornness, and we can have more reason for Pink's disappointment, for them being disappointed in Pink.
Okay. Pink Diamond is my favorite, in my opinion, so...
I think she has the most potential. Like, she's like...
I just wish we would have seen more of her. Like,
Or-
we saw...
Oh, go ahead.
We heard so much about her, and then in the end we saw, like, nothing.
I like how we got her arc backwards. I thought that was
Oh, I
kind of
love
cool.
that.
Over time, I like Pink more and more, but Yellow will always be the top one for me.
Touche. She's my second favorite, so...
Also, I really,
thing
really
is-
love her voice actor.
It matches
Ironic,
her.
I love how...
ironically, though,
Would one of you talk?
you go first then.
Me? I didn't have anything to say.
No, I'm talking about Carter.
No, I don't
His
think
idea.
I will. No, I don't think I will.
Al, my big toe hurts, Al.
Shut up.
That podcast, go check out the Honeycast or Honeycast or whatever it's called.
Yes,
It's
because I'm
fucking
sure they're
amazing.
going to take it from a channel with 40 subscribers.
It's fucking amazing.
Brandon, talk.
Okay, so ironically, the only reason, not the only reason, sorry, the weirdest thing is that I watched the only one season that I watched fully as they came out was Steven Universe, as it was Future, which is pretty much the opposite of you guys. It was because Carter, you had trouble watching Future, and you hadn't watched all the originals. I had trouble watching all the originals, but I did watch
I'm
Future.
going to go on a slight rant about that once you're finished.
So, I liked the first half of Future was my favorite part of the entire series, but the last half of Future was my least favorite part of the entire series.
I agree.
I agree.
Well, actually, I did not like Bluebird, and that was in the first half, I think.
What was Bluebird? That had 5 seconds
Filler.
of
They could have
We hate
taken that
you.
out for Peridot and Lapis.
yes.
So, you want to know my biggest problem with Future is that how it wasn't accessible to me. I like how I can watch Steven Universe, normal Steven Universe on my Hulu subscription, perfectly fine. But in order to watch Future, I need a whole other subscription. What sense does that make?
Yes.
And that frustrated me because there's no way I'm going to extend my subscription to another service just to watch one thing that had the longest hiatus in between it. After the cactus episode was the longest hiatus in the show's running history.
I know this is kind of random, but I really, really liked the Peridot episode.
Oh, the Paradise
Like-
episode was really, really good.
Yeah.
But then there were some episodes where I like them, but were they necessary? I really, really liked the roller skating one, but wasn't
Oh,
necessary.
yeah.
And then
No.
I hate secondhand embarrassment for the most part, so I could not. I fast forward through a lot of the proposing scene. It just made me uncomfortable in a way I cannot explain.
It made me uncomfortable too, and as soon as she said, "Yeah, I really like you," I will be with you. He takes it as like a flat out no, but even though she obviously loves him to like a very high degree, like it was just awkwardly. I think they could have changed if they changed that. Just a couple things could have made that scene really good.
I think it was supposed to feel awkward though. Like that was the point.
Yeah.
Well, I think they could have made it awkward in a more just realistic way. I don't know.
The moral of that story is don't listen to lesbians.
Especially dumbass fucking Ruby and Sapphire lesbians. Like, come on.
What? I like how Garnet's literally like the most knowledgeable, like, and helpful one in the show, but in that one episode,
It wasn't her. It was her. It was Sapphire and Ruby. They're different people. Like.
oh yeah, they were split up at the time. I like
Yeah.
how they're like terrible at giving advice like that when they're split up.
And then Garnet's like the pinnacle of advice. Or it's
Garnet's
specific.
like, don't fucking listen to those.
It's specifically Sapphire when she's talking about love. Like normally Sapphire is very like informational and like with her future vision, but then Love's like, yeah, no, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Future vision has always broke my mind a little bit. Like, how does Garnet not know that things are gonna happen?
Yeah,
And if
Garnet's
she does,
future vision is inconsistent, which I know it has to do with probability, but the showrunners seem to forget it half the time.
yeah.
Is everything gonna be okay? No.
No.
Okay, now that we've upset everyone, and now we have 100
I can hear the
dislikes,
pitchforks. My house is on fire.
and now that we
Oh
have
shit! The
hundreds
mafia
of
is here.
dislikes, now that
Rhoda,
we now that we have hundreds of dislikes, are you guys ready to move on to a different fandom?
The one that I just recently got into. Is that one next?
The JoJo's fandom.
Yeah.
So it's the
I
same exact thing with JoJo's, like Undertale. I begged them to watch it. They were like, "Hell no, get that shit away from me." And then I got
And-
branded into it, and then
In my
Cassie-
defense, have you seen JoJo's?
Yes.
I think
Phantom
so.
Blood is the one thing that was keeping me away from it, and then I saw part 2, and I was like,
You see, I didn't even really like part 2 that much. I fucking loved part 3 though.
Oh, part 3. But
Part 3 is my favorite, I think.
Brandon's only
I-
seen to part 3. Cassie, who watched after Brandon, has already finished JoJo's like me. I need to start
I
Stone
liked it.
Ocean.
Okay.
I need to start reading Stone Ocean.
I need to start reading.
Mhm.
please no, I'll catch up. But
Coleman's on episode 50, or not 50. Fuck. 23.
Yeah, he's pretty far.
Of
apart.
part 5.
Just part 5 is so good because you go through it. Anyways, that's not what we're talking about. I love the JoJo's community, but we're a very toxic community. And this happens with every single JoJo's fan. Once they get into it, they cannot stop making JoJo references wherever they go. Eventually, all JoJo's fans grow
It's
out
true.
of the obnoxious, unprovoked references. But
We can't help it.
I know. And it's like, if you go on like any old song that happens to be named after a standard, or that a standard character is named after, it's literally just the comments are full of it. It's so ridiculous. So like, let's say I want to listen.
ACDC.
Let's say I want to go to listen to Queen, and it's like, Killer Queen has already touched the song.
Kira Queen.
Gira Queen.
Kira
Kira
Queen. You don't have any right, Brandon.
Killer Bean.
And then, oh.
No, she didn't like Killer Bean.
She-
Killer Bean. She's gone. Oh no, she's back.
And then, be honest with me, guys. How many JoJo references do you make a day?
A lot. My little brother. Has, shut up. My little brother has started making them that we've made them so much. So
like they're so fun, but I bet to an outsider they're not fun. So honestly, tell me, before you guys watched JoJo's and I made JoJo's references nonstop, how did you feel?
Sorry, you just gastered.
So before you guys watched JoJo's and I constantly made JoJo's references, how did that make you guys feel? Like, honestly.
Carter, we didn't know. Like, I did not know they were JoJo's references. Like, legit.
Until later, and then you make the reference again. It's like, oh, that's what you were talking about.
Like, you know our old Minecraft server? So Coleman and I went down into our old mine, and we found a on the wall. And we were like, oh my god.
This is gonna be so funny for people who don't watch JoJo's, or like the people who took my advice and are like playing a game or something right now, and they just all of a sudden hear JoJo's references in the back.
They're so fun to make. Oh my god. Ah, no! I didn't mean to, I swear.
I am confusion.
I said
Oh no!
oh my.
And then once one starts, it's a whole chain. It's a whole chain. If one JoJo's fan makes a JoJo's reference in earshot of another JoJo's fan, it just keeps going.
I mean, you can't
It doesn't
stop
stop.
it. It's a disease, like I said in our dub.
The only way to stop it is to go Zawado!
Zahando bites the duster.
Muda.
Ora.
Heaven's door.
Heavens. Banana.
Okay, let's move on before this is infinitely JoJo's.
What?
I
What?
just realized what you meant by banana.
This is the JoJo stream. This is the JoJo stream now.
Okay, now one last fandom that I want to talk about. Like, this one won't be that long, and next we'll start talking about creators. So this fandom that I have is the Pokemon fandom, which you could also put them in toxic creators as well.
I wanna be the very
I shall-
best, like no one ever was.
Looks like
Bum, ba,
looks
da.
like he died again. But with the Pokemon fandom, it's that they constantly cannot accept anything that's new. Like, they hate change, but then they hate that the formula hasn't changed as well. Like,
Oh my god.
Black and White and what was the one on, like, where they didn't have any gyms? Was
Oh.
that Sun and Moon?
Alola?
Alola,
Yeah.
yeah.
I really liked that game. I haven't watched the anime since like the older one.
Yeah. The last time I watched the anime was Black and White, which ironically, Black and White 2 was the last game I played out of the franchise.
I have to play them all. It's like my childhood, so I have to like replay it every time there's a new game, even if it's the exact same
Yeah.
game after time after time after time. At least the graphics are getting cool.
And then a lot of people are upset with like the newer things I added. Like, I remember like a majority of people were upset about Mega Evolutions.
I liked those.
I don't know, I just hate, and then I hate the hate for Gen 5 because I really love Gen 5.
Which one's Gen 5?
That's Black and White.
Snivy? Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Brandon. Hello?
Go
Hola?
ahead, Mr. Juster.
I don't know, like, and then going on to the creators a little bit is, I really hate their decision to get rid of to not include every single Pokemon. Like, they cut the decks in like half. Which, being a Gen 5
Yeah.
fan, means that a majority of my
Yep.
favorites were cut.
Yep.
Yep. I don't know.
Yep.
Yep. And then
I don't
God.
remember Pokemon.
And now the way that they're trying to sell things is like, they've clearly been taken by corporate greed. Did you hear about the rent a mega evolution?
Nope.
For $15, you can rent in Pokemon Go. You can rent a mega evolved Pokemon for 4 hours
Yeah. God damn it.
for
No.
$15. 4 hours.
I'm just gonna walk my ass until I have enough candies, and then my strong Pokemon.
Can you get a Mega Evolution yourself though?
I don't know.
Not currently.
Oh, that's stupid.
So with that, we can slowly transition into toxic creators. If you ever think of more toxic fandoms, we can talk about. Go ahead. Like I keep saying, this is a freeform thing. I guess
I have a good one for toxic creators.
you go first then.
This might not be one Cassie can jump in on, so you actually go first.
Just go with it.
Just go. It's gonna be the same either way, whether you go first or not.
It's not necessarily the creators, but it is the way that the show was utilized.
To all you old school Cartoon Networks fan, let's go to the Ben 10 franchise. Because that is
Oh,
a
dear
fucking nightmare
God.
to talk about.
Oh god damn
I tried.
Uh,
I tried, Brandon. I really
it.
tried.
You can lead this one, Brandon.
I can what?
Lead this discussion. Go off.
Be the leader.
Pop off with this one.
Be angry, Brandon. It's your
Okay.
time.
So, you see we have the classic series. We started off with that, a really great art style with some of the best voice actors they introduced to the show. And yeah, the reason it has a really good potential, and the concept was probably one of the best on the network at the time. It was a really good show. I really enjoyed it as a kid, and I still have a soft spot for it now. But it was definitely really heavily based on the concept. The arc and stories weren't really the best, and although it had some of the best depictions of some of the ideas, it still kind of was very mediocre at the time. Then we get to another change, which was Alien Force, and this was the era that a lot of the fans started peaking, because this was a show that went into the future of this character and told a sequel that surpassed the original. Had the best character designs, had the best character ideas, had the best arcs. It was just the actual chemistry between characters was really well done. The humor was a lot better written, and it was just a really good interpretation of the show. And for 2 seasons, it was really well done because the creators had full control over it, since the original was so good. And they were allowed to take a lot more serious and slightly darker tones with some really. It was a really different show, but it still had the same feeling. They were still the same characters, but older. Is how it felt. And then we transfer to season 3 of this. It starts to get a little funky. Season 3 was when corporate stepped in, and they said, well, the ratings aren't as high as the original ones. And the reason the original ones were so high, it was because that was the first interpretation of the show. That's the first time people were really starting to get into it, and that's when the fandom was just starting to grow majorly. Because that was like the origin of the whole franchise. So of course those would be the highest, because that was like the original. But after the sequel came out, they had less traction because they only had the fans that stuck with it. And they were still getting a lot of it was basically the SpongeBob of Cartoon Network at the time. And for how big it was, and the corporates do this, they sold so much merchandise, they knew how big that show was. Then season 3, they decided, hey, maybe the reason the original is so high is because Ben was immature and a lot more like cocky and stuff like that. And they had a good reason for it. I think even for a couple episodes they haven't be that, because this was after the whole ending took place, and he let some of his ego go full of himself because of what he did, and that's understandable. But maybe just for a few episodes, and also they started taking the show a lot less seriously. And as it went on, a lot of the jokes they became more lenient to humor. They chose jokes over true story moments. They started just to get really cheap, basically. And then they got into Ultimate Alien, which they started getting more traction, but they couldn't go for it because they still had to deal with the things that happened in season 3. So Ben would slip into his more immature self every once in a while, and like for like long periods of the show. But then he'd switch back to his serious self, seemingly with no real scenes, like that. It just kind of happens. So his character kind of got a little funky. They repeated some plot lines with Kevin being turned into a monster again quite a bit. Well, I didn't mind it in Ultimate Alien when we got there because they handled that well, and that's when the show started getting really good, and we get a lot. This is the one of the most interesting arc is introduced with Dagon, which was like the main villain of that series, and basically, the very finale was all this build up, and basically Vilgax, which is the main antagonist, absorbs all of this just omnipotent power. Ben also absorbs all this omnipotent power from this magic sword. It's basically the Excalibur of the show. And you expect there to be this ultimate, like, really good battle for the ending of the show. And it just consists of them running at each other. Ben stabs him, and it's it. It's done. It has all this build up and all this potential, and it's done. And then, no, let me get to the next interpretation. This is when the network just kicked off the show, and it got hate in the wrong places. Like everyone's just, oh, the art style's dumb, and oh, we don't get to see the trio. I like how they had an art style change. That's because I also like because we just get a different look first of all, and I like that we had a different set of characters to follow besides the original trio that we've been following for 2 interpretations. And they had a lot of really interesting ideas, but this is when they started going to the more comedic side and scratched all the serious side of the show.
And
like
then
it was just any up.
Oh, go ahead.
You go ahead.
And then this is where they started introducing gimmicks just to sell toys.
Yes, this is when they started doing that. Like we literally got a whole character called a slime biot that had the ability to fuse aliens with each other. Only for the purpose of selling toys. And they basically just became a merchandising company, and they took all the ideas and just they threw a lot of the ideas that the original creator wanted away, and did just to sell toys, just to sell merchandise, just to make money. And fans took notice of that because they tried to reintroduce it to a younger audience, but discarding the original audience they already had. And then it slowly, and then at the very end, oh my god, the very end, it had another moment when you can see the omnipotent beings that can take the form of the thing that you hold closest to you. And at this point, I thought they were going to show Grandpa Max at that point, and they were going to lead into more just a really emotional moment. But no, they turned into a fucking smoothies.
Okay, I hate to interrupt, but we've hit the hour mark. We can go on for a bit more, but can you kind of wrap this up? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, and then basically we lose that. We step into the reboot, and it just all a lot of the original fans just kind of moved on from it, and it didn't really get its whole. Yeah, I just went on a tangent there. I'm sorry.
And then Cartoon Network as a whole, I know that they're technically not the creators. Oh my god.
Yeah.
We can go on that in a second, but
okay.
But Cartoon Network, just their marketing ploy has been terrible lately, and it's been obvious. They care about merch first, and then content second. That's all I want to say. Okay, go on about SpongeBob, Cassie. You pop off now.
I probably won't be as long as Brandon, but as a kid, that was pretty much the only thing I watched besides My Little Pony, but we don't talk about that. And
is there any corporate meddling with My Little Pony that just gets your blood boiling at all?
I mean, that one time Rainbow Dash kicked Discord in the face, it was really powerful, man. But the thing with SpongeBob, it used to be so good, it was so funny, and it had a bunch of adult humor. My problem isn't necessarily how bad it got. My problem is that how the creator died, and he said he didn't want any more being made, and then they went on and fucking made more, and it is the worst shit I've ever seen. Like, oh my god.
And then the worst part is the spin-off in particular is that he said that there will never be a SpongeBob spin-off. Oh, boom.
Yeah.
Or then how the creator specifically announced that SpongeBob is asexual because he's like a sea sponge. Cartoon Network during Pride Month. He's
gay.
Oh, and then tying into representation, here's one of the two I majorly want to talk about. Cassie, you'll have more to put in on this than Brandon. Legend of Voltron.
Oh, we're going on Voltron.
We're going on Voltron. I'll leave this one
You
case.
see, no, you can talk on this one.
Okay.
You see,
Oh.
I really liked Voltron, but like there was just at some point where I stopped like being as interested in it as I was before, and like Carter had to like harp on me to watch the rest of it, and I don't even know when like it happened because I was really enjoying it until that point, and like I'm the type of person that can't like tell why I don't like something, I just don't anymore. So like I really liked it at first, and then at some point I was just like, nah. And the ending, oh my god, the ending.
I know exactly where it happened because I had the same thing. Season 5 is where it really happens.
Yeah, I agree.
The main problem with Voltron is they had 8 seasons in 2 years, which no show should ever do. That's basically 4 seasons in 1 year. Or who knows if it was even evenly divided up. So, yeah, there was way too much. And then they benchlined the main threat at the second season, but then they introduced a new, better threat. Like, I think Lotor's way better
Oh,
than
I
Zarkon.
loved him so much. I'm so mad at them.
And then he switches allegiances in season 4, where Brandon, you might want to cover your ears, or you might want to leave for a second.
Yeah, just leave.
So, they kill off Zarkon, the big bad. I need to throw up all sorts of spoilers at the beginning. They kill Zarkon. They kill the main enemy of episode 2 of season 4. Episode 2.
Okay.
That's
I'm still so salty about Lotor. Like, you cannot introduce such a good character and then just kill him off because but he could have been such a good villain, and even if he wasn't, he could have been a good thing to your guys' side, and you could have kept the old villain, or you could have made him the villain. I don't care. You just need a villain.
Yep.
Fuck faces.
Okay. Are we done with that so we can invite Brandon back, and then we'll talk about representation?
Yeah, Brendan can come back. I'm still mad about that. I was so mad about that. I'm still mad about that.
Yeah. So we'll talk.
Best
So we'll
boy.
talk about representation as soon as he comes back.
All right.
I sent him a message.
You can come back, shitface. Shit dick.
Well, I guess we'll just start with Adam because we're past the hour mark right now.
All right.
So my problem with Voltron is, and I don't really go for shows for representation. If they have it, that's great. If they don't,
I love it.
and if they
have
don't,
it.
and they don't have it, that
That's
doesn't ruin
great.
a show for me. But what ruins a show for me is when you bait representation. I really want to talk about J.K. Rowling, but I'm not sure if we'll have the time to talk about it. I constantly hate when they want to say that they're very progressive and then not go the full length with it. So, like, my biggest problem with Voltron is Adam. They're like, oh, Adam! This main character has a boyfriend. Okay, the one scene we get to see them in, they don't address each other in any romantical sense. We only see them for a 15-second flashback, and then Adam is dead.
Mm-hmm.
And
then at the end, some rando marries Shiro that we've never met. Not to mention that they like tweeted this. You're going to meet his male lover Adam. We get no indication that they're lovers. And then like Netflix, you know how there's like thumbnails for like the show? It was Shiro in an LGBTQ flag. And it's like, god damn it. Like, I really thought it was going to be that. And then
there's the whole thing with Clance, which is a boy ex-boy ship. They're the same age, and like the creators would use these tags for promotional events, making it seem like a canon ship. But neither of these ships. But this ship doesn't happen at all.
Lance.
Ugh.
The fucking the marks. What?
Yeah, the end game to Voltron is very weak. I'm gonna try not to spoil it, but
I won't say anything.
But the end game is very, very disappointing. And you know, it could have been great, but they didn't play their cards right. Okay. Is he gonna come back?
I don't know. He probably thinks we're gonna talk as much as
He did.
He did.
I'm gonna snap him real quick. Okay, and now we can talk about the biggest offender. I already teased it. Mrs. J.K. Rowling.
Oh boy!
So we just had a whole spiel about representation. So should I take charge with this, or would any of you like to take charge with this?
Have fun.
Okay, so I was a big fan of the Harry Potter. Like, I read the books, and then it all started when she announced Albus Dumbledore was gay. I was like, okay, you know, it wasn't specifically written in there, but they didn't write it into a point where that's not believable. I'm like, okay, I don't get why you couldn't write this into the books, but whatever. And then the new spin-off comes out where we get to see Dumbledore in that time where it would have happened, and like J.K. Rowling specifically said, nope, we're not going to see that. I'm like, okay, then why would you even say that he is this just to not show it at all? And I kind of brushed it off, put it in the back of my mind. And then she kept saying not ridiculous things, but like more inclusive things that which contradicts what she said. She says, I never specified Hermione's white. Yes, you did. There's literally a part of the book where it says, Harry looked at her pale white face. The cover has her drawn white. And yeah. And then just other like weird like inclusion things. But she would always say it after the fact, never during it. So it was very obvious what she was doing. She was just trying to get brownie points with everyone else. And then she made the statement, I don't know exactly how it happened. She makes all these statements and then claims trans people are real, which is a terrible notion. Like, trans people are people. I'm very for that, and I will always say that. Trans people are people. And then, basically, the internet's after J.K. Rowling now. I don't want to associate with Harry Potter that much anymore. Read Percy Jackson. Rick Riordan is way better. Okay, how much time have I taken? Oh, okay, we're like an hour 20. So, I want to talk
3 more, and that's 4:20.
I want to talk.
There's one more we can possibly get in there too.
I want to talk about Disney.
Excuse me, that wasn't me. That was Brandon.
Yes, it was me.
I want to talk about Disney.
Go.
Okay, so my biggest problem with Disney is they used to be very, very creative, but they had a rough 2010s, not gonna lie. A lot of the movies were rough, and then towards the later end, they came out with really, really good movies. But now, even Pixar, they don't really have to try anymore. I'm not saying that they've given up completely, but they're not trying as hard as they were. Like, I love Incredibles 2, Finding Dory, all of those, A Good Dinosaur, but a lot of them haven't been up to par as the originals. There's been a decline in quality because they know they'll make massive loads of money either way. Same thing with like Frozen 2, which wasn't very good. And then the biggest...
I agree.
The biggest offender of Disney's recent downgrade has been the live actions, where they basically retell stories, but they make them worse. Like, live action gives you gives you more restrictions than the animated form, and the animated form is way better, and you cannot remake a classic. You're trying to remake a classic to introduce it to a new generation, but your new telling of the story sucks. And then we can see how much Disney's corporate greed has taken over by them reopening during the pandemic. Because they don't have enough money when they literally own like 70% of all entertainment. They're literally the entertainment monopoly. And then final statement I'll go on is the whole issue with, or the whole issue I'm worried that's going to happen with Marvel, with recently, and as the time of this recording, Chadwick Boseman, aka the person who played Black Panther, recently passed away. And I'm really worried what they're going to do because they have to continue the Black Panther franchise as it is their biggest Marvel movie up to date. And I'm afraid of the merchandise selling that they're going to do. Like, I've already looked at some Black Panther merch and the prices have been exponentially raised, which kind of hurts my heart because I currently didn't have anything Black Panther to put in my collection, but the prices are really, really steep right now. And yeah, another quick thing is the whole Spider-Man situation. There was a kid who died who was a really big fan of Spider-Man, and the kids wanted to have Spider-Man etched onto his grave, and then Disney essentially told them no. So yeah, that's all I want to go with that. Anything you guys would like to add real quick?
Well, I'm not a big enough fan of them or never really watched that much of any of that, so I don't have a good opinion of that.
What about you?
Okay. The last thing I have to add for a potential fandom creator thing is like an ending note too, because unless you want to save this, the whole Night in the Woods creator topic.
Oh my god.
I think we could save that for a different episode, but go into a little bit if you will.
You'll say that. Basically, what happens is Night in the Woods is probably in my top favorite games of all time. It came out during it's a game that really impacts me emotionally. It is a game with great characters, phenomenal writing, but the creator was, if I'm correct, he was very abusive towards his wife. He had two different sides of him. He often showed like a very positive side towards the community, but like he was just kind of a piece of shit from what I've heard. And it just kind of recently came out. So the question that I have is it okay to still like the property without supporting the creator?
I think so, and that's like a topic I want to go on for a future podcast, maybe the next podcast we can do.
Yeah.
So, thank you for your input. I'm going to mute you guys real quick just so I can do an outro.
Okay.
He doesn't want us screaming.
Yes. Okay, guys. Thank you for watching this first ever podcast. I don't quite know what this is called yet. Let me know if you guys enjoy it. I've always wanted to make longer videos that you guys can listen to while you just study, relax, play games. I will be making future episodes of this. I really, really enjoy this. Just a calmer style of videos to make. You can expect them probably once every 1 or 2 weeks. Thank you guys for watching. Please check out my Instagram and my other channels. If you are new here, please subscribe. It would really help out the channel. And thank you for watching. See you guys later, and stay